sure people gonna want to know about any intangibles or tangibles about Al Davis.
He knew more about football and his one finger than I learned in my entire life,
Wow.
and how the game was affected, from the impact of the black player, the HBCU players, guys like Lee Brown that nobody wanted to touch because they came from those smaller colleges,
Mhm.
Grambling and Southern and stuff like that. But once they found it, they found a pipeline that they could get players. And you got some of the greatest players ever played, Jerry Rice, Willie Brown, and the list goes on and on. Coming out of HBCUs, and he was one of the first. He was one of the first to allow a black quarterback to be a starter when most of the league would have stereotyped, about the black quarterback or the stigma of a black quarterback. So um, he was like one of those good old grandfathers that just sat around. He just always told stories. He told stories
Wow.
about the old NFL, the AFL, and he was a pioneer. I mean, and he eat, slept, and loved football. He knew everything about it. He was a great man to work for because he was going to take care of you. And the one thing that stood out to me about him is that he knew more about my family. He would ask about my family by name before he would ask about me. So he would ask about my wife and my kids and by name and how they're going, he knew all that stuff about them and took pride in knowing that stuff about people that mattered. And more importantly, he would come up to you and sometimes he would say, "Look, we need a defensive end. Who do you like out there? Who's a good rusher? You think of free agency?" So he would take your advice into consideration. So that made me feel really good, especially being a part of a family.
How how was it? Who did you, speaking of defensive linemen, who was it like that you enjoyed playing against, or and guy you just couldn't sleep, you couldn't sleep thinking.
Well, I tell you what, one of the best ones I had to play, the pleasure of playing against several times, Reggie White. And may he rest in peace, the Minister of Defense. What was great about Reggie is that he had the ability. He was quick and he was strong, and he knew how to use that combination wisely. So I remember seeing, before I had a chance to play with him. I think the first time I played against him was when he was with Green Bay,
Mhm.
and then he had all the moves and everything else. And I went into the game every time saying, "I'm not going to make your highlight film. I'm not going to make your highlight film. You're not going to torture like you've done other people." So that was it. But I mean, I played against some of the great ones. Chris Stolman, may he rest in peace. Bruce Smith. Kevin Green, may he rest in peace. I'm saying all this stuff because unfortunately, and that's what saddens me and has caused me to change my life the way I have, is that a lot of these guys aren't around anymore. And they were great guys. They were awesome athletes. They were good people. And the world is a sadder place that they're not here.
Yeah.